We're going to talk a little bit about managing events in Darkroom. Now, in Darkroom, on the left side, we have our events list here. The expandable list, if yours is not expanded, go ahead and click on the little plus. And you can see there's some sample events that came packaged with the software and a couple of events that I've created. Now, the reason this exists is a couple of things. Number one, this is a good way to allow you to prepare for multiple upcoming events. As each one of these, as I change them, notice down here we have different templates, and the settings for the output and everything will change. And yet another different one. So we'll go back to master here. That's what we'll be working with. And this allows, again, not only multiple events, but it also helps keep our prints separated. So if I go to the prints tab, my prints for the master event are showing here. And as I click on other ones here, I haven't done any images for these, but any pictures taken with that event would be held in here. So it would make it easier to find them, obviously, to do reprints and things, rather than going from a large ongoing list. So what we want to do is when you have a new event coming up, the best thing to do is take the last event that you did and highlight it, like here, I have it, which is my master event. And then you come up to booth events and choose duplicate event. And notice it made master and the number 1 after it, showing that it's a duplicate. The reason we choose duplicate and not create new is because by using duplicate event, it takes all of the settings that I have for that one event and puts them into this new one. And that means a lot of these settings for the controls, text, and timing, live view, those will come forward. If I do create new event, it will create a Darkroom default, and you'll have to go through and readjust all of these settings on all of these tabs. So that's why we do duplicate. Now to rename it, you simply double click on it, and this is going to be my, just call it new event here. Okay. Now I can go ahead and choose a different template for that event, and there again, it's going to be different than the master, because from here on in, with this highlighted, anything I do is going to be solely for the new event here. Now, once that's all done, when you go to that particular event, you just highlight it and make sure you highlight the one that you're at and hit start booth, and everything will run forward. Now, managing these things afterwards, what you can do, number one, is use these as sample events down the road. I generally recommend holding on to these for 60 days in this list. And in that time, if your customer calls you back and says they need a new flash drive, a new album, or something, these prints are available to you. Because once these prints are taken out of Darkroom, there's no way to bring them back in. And printing them is very difficult from Windows applications outside of Darkroom. So that's one of the reasons to keep them in here. The other reason is after the 60 days, say I had maybe 200 photos in here. What I would do is I would go through and pick the photos that I thought these would make excellent examples, and then go through and delete everything else. So say I had these 4 that I selected and I deleted the other 196. What I would do is I would take master, double click it, and I would name it samples 1. So now I know this is going to be a list of samples for me to go back to, and I can print right here from Darkroom. I don't have to worry about strips fitting on the paper, having them cut properly through other software. I can do it from here. And same thing, say I went through the high school football event, picked out maybe 12 pictures. I would just call this samples 2. And my samples list will grow, and as often as I want. Let's say Rodney and Melissa's wedding. Say there was nothing in these prints that I wanted at all. To get rid of this from the list completely, go to booth events, remove event, and make sure you check delete the picture files as well, and then hit remove. And that was rather quick because there's nothing in there. But if you just delete the event and not the picture files, they will build up in the background. Right away, that's not a big problem, but over time, you don't want that clutter in there. So you can see the landscape of my listing has changed here. I've got my samples that I can use to print out for folks, or I can export these at a later time to a folder and use them for my website or anything similar like that. And then I don't have to worry about things being complicated outside of Windows. And again, it also allows me to prepare. So I have a wedding this weekend on Friday, and let's duplicate that. And let's say I have another wedding on Saturday. Whoops. So now, Friday, I go click wedding 1, hit start booth. Saturday, I go set up, make sure I come in here and hit wedding 2, hit start booth. That's the best way to manage things in Darkroom. Recommend you utilize this. And remember that once pictures are removed from Darkroom, there's no way to bring them back in. So creating these samples listings of things that you think you might want to use later is probably a very good idea.